Welcome back to PC Building Simulator, everybody. I am Blendon, and today we are going to be building a system, speccing out a parts list for the up-and-coming RTX 3070 graphics card. The parts in-game this is a simulation, and it is not exact to scale. It'll look something a little bit like this build here that I got on this test bench. Got everything put together as a reference for myself. And one more thing I would like to say before I get started with today's video is we are currently at 517 subscribers on the channel right now as of the making of this video, and along with that, at 1,000 subs I will be doing a giveaway. I haven't decided what I'm going to be doing a giveaway for yet, or what I'm going to be giving away yet, but as we get closer and closer to 1,000, I will have more information out and on the way coming. So all you gotta do to find out the information upcoming is get subscribed. And hey, maybe even while you're at it down there clicking subscribe, you'll obliterate that like button. That'd be freaking amazing for me. Really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And we will get right into today's build. Now, the parts list that will be in the description below will be a little bit different than some of these, but that's just because this game doesn't have every component I need, and I really wish they would add more components. But first off, we are going to start with an X570 board from Gigabyte, and we're going to go with this one in-game as the Gaming X one, which, to match it up with the board I've chosen in real life parts list, the board I chose for real life is the Gigabyte X570 UD ATX AM4 motherboard. It's almost the same board, outside of a few teeny things here and there, but for game purposes, this one will get the job done. And you know, it's gaming, and it's got the letter X, so it's already 10 times cooler. And for this build, color scheme wise, we're going with like the fans we have are going to be RGB, but the main components in the system are going to be like a black, gray, silvery metal look, and I think that'll look pretty cool. The case I chose for real life is a pretty cool looking one too. Pull it up here, 1 second. The case I have chosen is the Metallic Gear Neo-Silent, or the Neo-Silent ATX mid case from Metallic Gear. And it has got this like gray looking metal finish. Here, I'll hold it up right there for you. There's one, and there's what it looks like. So with that one, that case has got a little bit of a better matching metal tint to like this one here, the shine that's coming off the there, and all the cooling over there, which is really nice. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to input the processor, which for this one, we're going with a Ryzen 7 3800X. There is an XT version of this processor for a little bit more, but I decided to choose this one because for this parts list I have spec'd it out at about $1,500. I think the final cost, including the case fans I chose for it, is like $1,502. So give into account a few extra bucks for shipping, maybe, depending on part availability. The price of the parts will fluctuate like all of them always do, but that's to be expected with something that gets upgraded very frequently. And along with this, I'm going to be putting in a 500 gig SSD for the M.2 drive, and this one that I have chosen is the Corsair 4 Series 480 gig. which will go right into this slot here, with a screw there, or a standoff there that goes into that spot, and then the screw right in on top. The standoff typically is pre-installed here. Some motherboards don't do it, but most of them do. And then the screw that goes in it comes in your motherboard box. Should be like below where they set the motherboard in the box. And also with this one, we are going to open up the memory channels we're going to be using. And in this case, we are going with the Trident Z RGB 8 gig at 3200 megahertz, because it's quite good memory here. So we got two 8 gig sticks there for 16 total gigs of memory. That gives you plenty of headroom for the ability to add another 2 8 gig sticks here to bring yourself up to 32 gigs in this case, and for this system, along with, oh yeah, put that cover back on, along with the ability to even say take these two 8 gig sticks, sell them, buy a 16 gig stick and put that one in, and then just upgrade 16, 32, 48, and 64 gigs of memory. Or even more expensive, go with 32, 64, all the way up to 128 gigs of memory for this motherboard's maximum allowed. I'm going to put one part back in here real fast. Not that one. That one. Because I'm not using that slot. I thought about it and mounting the GPU vertically, but I went against it, which will probably be a little better for the airflow in the case, so we're just taking into account for everything in a little bit. Now next up, we are going to put in a SSD for storage of that, and for this one, for the build in the parts list below, I chose the Samsung 860 EVO 1TB SSD for $129. And this one we're going with the Team Group T-Force Vulcan. When it comes to SSDs and hard drives, doesn't really matter which one you get, they all kind of do the same thing. But if you can find one with high transfer speeds at low cost, that's your best bet to go for. So we're going to put that one in right back here behind the motherboard tray. And that takes care of our storage. Next up, we're going to be inputting the power supply. And for this case, I went with a 650 watt. The one in the parts list is this one, but modular. So, oh, there. We'll just grab this one, this Cooler Master one, because it's modular, like the one I have in the parts list below. So we'll stick that right into there. And typically you'd want to hook up some of your cables and run them out this way a little bit so you can run them easier without having to wedge your hand into some crazy component to try and plug something in. Very odd looking and typically not a comfy angle for your wrists. And next up, we're going with to put on some thermal paste onto the CPU, because you always want to make sure you got thermal paste, or like they also make little thermal pads you can put on there for cooling as well. It does the same thing as thermal paste, except sometimes they're reusable. I've seen a few other videos out there that people have reused the thermal pads, so those are pretty common practice. And the cooler that comes with the processor is the AMD Wraith Spire cooler. Not the small one, but the big one with the RGB on it. Looks a little something like this one here, the Be Quiet Shadow Rock TF2, except it's a taller and the housing goes all the way up around the edge of the fan, and the fan lights up with RGBs on it. Looks pretty cool. But for this specific build and the case I have today, I'm just going to stick in this RGB radiator, 240 mil, and I'm going to stick it right here at the bottom of the front, And how they have these cables run is you would typically probably remove a couple of these drive bays to put this in, which, as you can see, it runs pretty smoothly between them. So if you don't want to just have them sitting around outside of the case afterward, you can put them back in. It's not that difficult to maneuver them around it, which is pretty nice as well. And also for cooling in the case, for case fans, I tried to make them match a little bit. Which ones did I grab? These ones, I believe, the Corsair ones, which you can pick any fans you want. Case fans are kind of a personal preference item. If you want them to light up and have RGB, go right ahead. If you want them to be all blacked out like the back one here and just be, you know, just for performance over looks, you can do that too. I frankly just like the look of some RGB lights and have it be able to light up the inside of the system. It's kind of like a show-off piece. And with this right here, we are down to only needing to plug in one more component. But first, we're going to plug in some stuff on the motherboard, like the liquid cooler. We're going to attach that right there to one of the headers. And we're going to take a cord from the power supply up to this 8-pin plug on the motherboard for motherboard power, and the 24-pin over here. And we're going to connect fans. Then we're just going to connect all the rest of the fans to each other. And we're going to connect the case power button, USBs, and audio, which is just from a group of cables that come already attached into the case and everything, all wired up. And they go right down here. Those are sometimes a pain in the butt to connect because you got the little pin that you have to plug in this little thing right on top of it. And there's a whole bunch of them right around each other, so you're just in there funneling them all through. It's a little bit of a hassle, but trust me, that little bit of a hassle makes it worth your time. Then we're also going to plug in the power and SATA cables to the SSD, which SATA goes right into the motherboard, into one of these 6 SATA ports. And with having this M.2 drive I have in here, it makes 2 of these unusable. So you can only plug in up to 4 drives instead of 6 on this specific board. But the M.2 is a faster drive. It's the drive I'm going to use to install the operating system on and boot from that one. So that one will be a lot faster for startup and any programs you want to run ridiculously fast. Like for me, I've got on my computer here, I've got my operating system on it, and then Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing to make that a bit faster. It's really nice. And then all my video files that I save go to the hard drives I got outside of the slot, which is really nice. And last but most certainly not least, the graphics card, which if I search 3070, there is nothing here for a 3070. So just for example purposes, we're going with the 2080 Asus ROG Strix graphics card because it's about the same size as the 3070. If I can put it in there. There. Screw that in right there. Got this beefy boy sitting right on top there, a nice back plate. Which there are companies that make custom back plates if you don't like the look of this one in particular. Not on a 3070 yet, not that I'm aware of anyway. And then for the graphics card, you got 2 8-pin powers that go right there from the power supply right into it. And you got a pretty beefy looking system now. Lastly, we're going to stick in a USB install drive for our operating system and any programs we choose to. And then we're just going to plug everything on in. Power to the power supply and then HDMI or display port to the graphics card, and then mouse and keyboard USB into the back of the motherboard. And finally, we're going to take and put in the dust filters on the top and on the front. And we're going to put on the front panel and the hold up, I forgot to plug this in. PSU mount right there, and we'll screw that in to secure the power supply. Can't believe I almost forgot that. Then the top panel, right up top there, to cover up those, which may look like it's blocking, but I think this is one of those like magnetic, just sets down and airflow can still get around. So that should be fine for all of that. And then we'll take the beauty panel, which went right in here to cover up all that, which now it looks pretty good. And I've got drive bays. Is there more drive bays we can install? There is. Well, let's just put them all in, just to get them out of my inventory. And we got one more spot up top for the last one. Right, oh, I can't put it there because I got a fan in the way. That's okay. We'll leave one out. And we've got a drive bay for here. This one must not. Okay. Okay, we're alright. But first, last thing, we're going to put on the back panel to cover up that nasty cable mess behind. Not that it's too terribly bad, it's pretty well managed. Then we're going to power it back up again. And we got these nice fans running at the top, which we'll go through and install some software for the RGB lighting. Some RGB lighting software is absolute garbage when it comes to that. To controlling and doing more than one program of RGB, like if you got case fans and a radiator that came with different case fans, or different fans for it. Alright, thank you for starting up super loud in my ear. But the case fans might have different colors, or there might be different things you'll need to control the RGB lights that may appear on your graphics card or on the motherboard itself as well. There's 101 different things that could be changed for that, but typically it's not too terrible. Like, I'm just going to select all lights and we're going to make them blue, because I like blue. And bam! Now you got matching case fans that are all blue. We got the radiator fans at the front matching blue. Got the little blue logo on the graphics card there, and then the blue little bits into that look pretty cool too. The blue light on the memory and on the cooler. And I am going to put the side panel back on now that we're aware that everything's working perfectly fine with this system. And I'm going to run a quick benchmark and we'll show you the results of it in a second. No, this isn't a benchmark for a 3070 because it's not in here yet. But the 2080 card that we have in here, it's a pretty powerful card, so we'll get a really high score anyway. I'll see you in just a moment. Alright, and we are back with the results, and the TimeSpy Extreme score is 10,500, with the graphical score of 10,672 and a CPU score of 9,622. Frames per second, graphically wise, this system will absolutely pound anything that you throw at it. The system is very well equipped to handle all games, maximum frame rates basically, outside of maybe Flight Simulator. That one might give you some trouble if you throw it at max, but that's also got a lot of other stuff with it, which we won't get into today. This video is already long enough now as it is, and I had a lot of fun making it. Now, as I said earlier in the video, the parts that I have chosen in game are different than the ones that are going to be in the description below. Go with the ones I put in the description below if you do choose to buy a system with a RTX 3070 card. Especially, I mean, the score in here is with the 2080 and the 3070 is like, get you another like 20 to 30% performance boost off of this one. So that's an awesome upgrade. I would guess the TimeSpy Extreme score to increase by a couple thousand points here. Maybe get up to 1200, 12,000, 12,005 maybe. But I don't know, I'm just guessing here, shot in the dark for that one. But thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, Just leave me a comment, tell me what your favorite thing about these videos is. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and you get subscribed so you can find out information about my future giveaway. And have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one. Bye!